The anime starts off with a boy named Satoru working at his job, delivering a pizza. While driving, he somehow gets a weird feeling something bad is about to happen. He notices a driver in a truck that is asleep and about to hit a kid. Satoru pulls the driver's arm, saving the kid. Although while doing this, Satoru crashes into a car in front of him. He wakes up 2 days later in the hospital, seeing his co-worker Katagiri sitting bedside. Satoru then explains that what happened is what he calls a revival, where he goes back in time by about 1 to 5 minutes, right before something bad happens. When he finishes in the hospital, he comes back home to his mom cooking, and his mom tells him she's staying at his apartment to make sure he's all right. After they eat, Satoru's mom asks him if he remembers what happened in 5th grade, where 2 of his classmates got murdered. He remembers it, and recalls a guy named Yuki who was around 20 years old that often played with him. 6 months after the kidnapping incident, Yuki, or his actual name Shiratori Jun, was arrested as a serial kidnapper and murderer of his 2 classmates. The next day, Satoru is walking back from the grocery store, and another revival happens, although he has no idea what it is. He asks his mom if she notices anything, and he sees an adult walking with a young girl, although they don't seem to be father-daughter to her. When the man sees Satoru's mom looking at him, he takes off, although Satoru's mom takes a picture of him. He then sees Katagiri and starts walking back home with her. Although while walking home, we see the man with the young girl from earlier in a car looking at them. The 3 finish eating, and Satoru bikes Katagiri home. Satoru's mom then explains to Satoru that at the parking lot earlier, a kidnapping attempt was foiled, but she says she was kidding. The next day, Satoru was reading a book and sees a paper about the kidnapping and murder of Hinazuki Kayo, one of his classmates that was often alone at the park. Satoru's mom is at the grocery store, trying to figure out what was happening exactly at the parking lot, and she thinks they know each other. And all of a sudden, she remembers who it was. She believes it's the same person who kidnapped Satoru's classmates back in 5th grade, and she thinks it wasn't Yuki. When she gets home, all of a sudden she gets stabbed and dies. Satoru's walking home, and when he gets to his apartment stairs, he sees a mysterious man walking back. He doesn't think anything of it, although when he gets home, he sees his mom dead. Satoru tries to wake up his mom, although his neighbor came by and thought Satoru killed her. The police come and try to take Satoru, although he runs away. He then has a revival, although it seems different this time. Satoru then realizes he time-traveled 18 years, all the way back to 1988, and he is apparently going to school in 5th grade. Satoru goes to school and sees it's February 15th. While going to sit down, his teacher mentions Hinazuki is late, although no one knows why. Satoru starts running home to see his mom, and passes by Hinazuki walking to school. He gets home, looks at some past memories, and eventually falls asleep. He then happily wakes up to his mom coming home, and she starts making dinner like usual. The next day, he's walking to school and wonders why his revival took him back so much further than his other revivals. While in class, he notices Hinazuki has a mysterious bruise on her leg. During free time, Satoru's friend Kenya asks him if he likes Hinazuki. Kazu said he'll set up Satoru and Hinazuki, and next thing he knows, he's meeting up with her after school. Satoru then says he wants to be friends with her. Hinazuki doesn't give a straight answer, although she says, "I kind of understand, since we are both fakes." Satoru was shocked and didn't really know what she was talking about. She then says she saw Satoru running home yelling "Mom," and asked if his mom is really that important to him, and Satoru answers yes. As she's walking away, she says she'll be friends with him if he could kill someone for her. Satoru doesn't give an answer, and apparently Yuki was watching the whole time. The next day, he realized that Hinazuki noticed he was playing the role of his ideal self so he can get along with people. While getting ready to go home, Satoru asks if they can stop by at their friend hideout, although his friends tell him they already agreed to stop going since they'd leave footprints from the snow. They were all confused on why Satoru asked that, especially Kenya, and he thought something was off with him. While walking home, Kenya told Satoru he feels like Hinazuki being on his mind is something really important. Kenya also told him to read the student anthology. When Satoru gets home, he starts reading the student anthology, and starts with Hinazuki's. Hinazuki's poem title is "The Town with Only Me Erased," and it reads, "I want to go to a faraway island where nobody is around and there's no sorrow or suffering. I'll climb trees, swim in the ocean, and sleep when I want. I'll think about the town from which I've been erased and feel lighthearted. I want to go far, far away." He starts eating dinner with his mom, and asks her if he can invite some friends over for a birthday party, intending to invite Hinazuki. The next day after school, Satoru's friends see Hinazuki leaving school, and tells Satoru to go after her, although there is no rush, as Satoru knows that Hinazuki goes to the park until it gets dark. He suspects the reason for this is that his mom abuses her her at home. He catches up with Hinazuki and tells her again that he wants to be friends with her, although he won't kill anyone for her. Hinazuki then says she was obviously joking around. She also says that since he's putting on an act to get along with people, she can't see the real him. Satoru then asks her to come to his birthday party, saying she was the first person he invited, and she says sure. She leaves the park, and this is where Satoru last saw her 18 years ago. Satoru then remembers all of the victims, which are Nakanishi Aya, Sugita Hiromi, which is one of Satoru's friends, and Hinazuki Kayo. He notices Hinazuki was only 10 at the time, meaning her birthday hadn't yet passed when she went missing in March, meaning that the day she's gonna get kidnapped is somewhere between March 1st and her birthday. The next day, there's Winter Olympics at Satoru's school. Satoru is up against a ice hockey player, Hamada, and Satoru is about to win, although he feels like it would be weird if he wins, and purposefully gives Hamada the win. Despite purposefully giving him the win, Hamada is still mad at him for nearly beating him. Satoru then realizes he made the exact same mistake of making Hamada mad at him that he made 18 years ago. While leaving school, Satoru starts talking to Hinazuki, saying Hamada was too fast for him after all. But Hinazuki saw Satoru slow down, and she is unhappy with him that he lied to her. He then goes to check Hinazuki's birthday in the teacher book, and his teacher catches him, although he doesn't mind, and shows Satoru her birthday. He then realizes that him and Hinazuki both have the same birthday, meaning that the day she's gonna get kidnapped is March 1st. While walking home, he sees Yuki and goes to his house. After a little bit of chatting, Satoru says he should get going now, and recalls that Yuki went on death row for the kidnapping. Instead of going home, he goes to Hinazuki's house and realizes she's not home. But with a closer look, he sees footsteps leading up to a shack. He opens the door to Hinazuki, laying on the ground, beat up. Hinazuki's mom then comes with a smirk on her face and tells Hinazuki to come back in the house. Satoru asks why she has those bruises, and Hinazuki, being forced to lie, says she tripped. We then see Hinazuki's mom abusing her, shoving her face in ice-cold water. The next day at school, Satoru notices another bruise on the back of Hinazuki's head, and when class ends, him and Hinazuki start collecting school lunch money. Later, Satoru goes to his teacher to tell him about Hinazuki getting abused by her mom, although the teacher has already been suspecting it since May last year. He says they're trying to take steps towards preventing it, but Hinazuki's mom is good at covering it up. He also says that if they're able to save Hinazuki from her mom, she will have to leave the school, but Satoru is okay with it, as long as she's saved. The next day at school, the school lunch money has disappeared, and Satoru tells the class. The girl sitting beside Satoru, named Misato, accuses Hinazuki of stealing it since she doesn't pay for lunches, and believes she is poor, and only a poor person would steal it. Everyone checks their bags, and apparently Hinazuki does have the money. Misato starts making fun of Hinazuki and calling her poor. Although, while she's talking, Satoru snaps at her and says Hinazuki would never steal from someone, and the girl starts crying. The teacher then says nothing is strange about her having the money, since she is on duty today. After that, Hinazuki thanks Satoru, and explains Misato used to make fun of her, so she threw Misato's mechanical pencil out the window, and they've hated each other ever since. Hinazuki also says Misato even invited her to a Christmas party just so she can show off her big Christmas tree, although Hinazuki said it was pretty. Satoru then said, let's go to a big Christmas tree together, even though it was February, and Hinazuki said alright. While walking to the Christmas tree, they saw a couple red foxes start to circle around them, and it looked super cool to Satoru, but Hinazuki was kinda scared and held on to him. They finally got to the Christmas tree, and it was beautiful. They both loved it. Although while they are at the Christmas tree, we see Kenya and the teacher both still at school talking. Satoru is aware that Hinazuki mainly experiences abuse on Saturdays. To prevent this from happening, he requests his mother to let him take Hinazuki to the science center on that particular day. Thankfully, his mother agrees. When he gets to school, he then asks his friends if they want to go to the science center with them, although they all refuse on purpose so he can go with Hinazuki alone. Hinazuki then comes up to Satoru, saying that her mom tells her to come straight home on Saturdays, although Satoru knows that's because Hinazuki's mom wants to abuse her, and says, I'll talk to your mom for you. After school, Satoru talks to her mom about it, and she instantly says no, although Hinazuki says she wants to go, and her mom isn't happy about that, and goes to hit her. That is, until Satoru's mom stops her, and tells her to chill out and let them go. With Satoru's mom convincing her, Hinazuki's mom eventually complies with them going to the science center. While Satoru and her mom walks back, his mom says she kinda senses that Hinazuki gets abused just by talking talking to her mom briefly. Saturday comes, and the two arrived at the science center. They play around for a while, having lots of fun. But then, as Satoru was just coming back from the bathroom, he remembers he ran into Hinazuki at this exact position, back in the original timeline. He realizes he's been trying to change the future, although it seems he's been unwittingly following the same path. Although something different happened from the original timeline, which was his friends showing up, and Satoru gained some hope back. The next school day, Hinazuki arrived looking fine, meaning Satoru successfully saved her from getting beat. While walking home from school, she also promised him that she would walk to school with him the next day. Satoru wanted to walk with her, since the next day is March 1st, which in the original timeline was the day Hinazuki got kidnapped. It is now March 1st, and Satoru comes to Hinazuki's house to walk her to school. School ends, and Satoru is still making sure he stays with Hinazuki. He asks her to come to the community center with her, but she says she wants to go to home straight away, but eventually agrees to go. They play for a bit, and Hinazuki says she wants to go home. Satoru walks her home, making sure she's all right, hoping he'll see her tomorrow. It's 11:50 p.m., and Satoru is going to sleep, although he is still scared of something happening, and sneaks out to go to Hinazuki's house. While waiting at Hinazuki's house, he sees nothing wrong, and keeps watch of the time. It becomes 12 a.m., meaning it is now March 2nd. He then goes home happily, knowing that he changed history today. He sleeps, and wakes up extremely early because he wants to see Hinazuki as soon as possible, and thankfully she's at home like usual. That day when school ends, Satoru is ready to celebrate his birthday party with Hinazuki, and ask her and his friends to go shopping together. Although, his teacher interrupts him, asking for his and Hinazuki's help with moving boxes. They finish helping and get back to the class, and turns out all his friends are gone. So Satoru and Hinazuki decide to shopping with just the two of them. When they get home, their friends surprise them. Apparently they asked the teacher to stall those two so they could get ready to surprise them for their birthday. Hinazuki then apologizes for not being able to finish Satoru's present in time, and Satoru realizes that was the reason why she wanted to go home so badly yesterday. They started celebrating and had a ton of fun making sandwiches for the birthday party. Satoru then gave Hinazuki her gloves as a present and walks her home when they're finished, promising to give him a present tomorrow. He then walks home, extremely happy that everything went as planned and Hinazuki is safe. The next day he wakes up late and has to run to school. He makes it just in time to not be marked absent. The teacher then announces, "Hinazuki is the only one absent, I guess." Satoru looks in shock and realizes something terrible must have happened. And that's the end of part 1. Subscribe so you don't miss part 2.